all you entrepreneurs. It's me, Jillian Sidoti, one of the hosts of Entrepreneur. And today we are going to be talking about something I think that so many of you want to talk about, which is how to actually do marketing for your Regulation A or Regulation D 506C offering. Of course, you can't advertise a Regulation 506B, but you can advertise a 506C or a Regulation A. And today's guest is a complete expert on that. So get your questions ready, put them in the comments below if you have them. And I would like to welcome my very special guest, Riggs Eckelberry from takeoff2succeed.com. Thank you so much for joining us today, Riggs. What do you think is the biggest problem that entrepreneurs have when it comes to raising capital? If you had to pick just one thing, what's their biggest issue?
It's not regular marketing. That's the number one issue. And again and again, we talk to marketing agencies. They go, hey, we can do this and so forth. And they find out, wow, it is a different game altogether. And so while there's many, many marketing tools we use, you have to recognize that it is a space of its own. And pretty soon people realize, wow, there's not a lot of people out there that can help me do it. And we've left enough bloody marks on the sidewalk to be able to do that, do it well.
Let's talk about that for a second, because that's an interesting way of putting it, that there's people out there. Are you finding that there are marketing agencies that will take on these Reg A's and Reg D's and just try to implement a regular marketing plan, and then these poor people who've probably already spent a ton of money on legal fees, on setting up software, on doing back end preparation, only to go out and market it improperly? What does that look like? Where is that big disconnect happening, and how can somebody know, like, this is not the marketing agent? I mean, obviously they should go to Takeoff to Succeed, but how would someone know that this is not the right marketing agency for me?
Right. Well, I think it comes down to, is this a specialized agency that has shown it can raise money on a consistent basis? And I remember that I had an agency that is quite good, and they're a top agency. They do a great job. I took them on in early 2020, and they did amazing things for me. For example, I had a weekly live stream just like you, and they made that much more popular. They created a whole bunch of content, all kinds of things. But then we launched a Regulation A, and after the initial backlog stopped happening, should I go on a headphone? Is this what's going on?
Are you getting feedback?
Yeah.
Oh, let me turn me down. I'm sure I'm the problem. Go ahead, try it again.
Yeah, that works. All right. So what we ran into was they didn't know what to do next. And so we had to go ahead and develop that capability. And what we did was, I have a company that is a CEO, or it has me. Public companies own you. I've been a CEO of a public company for some years now in the water space, very difficult space to succeed in. And we made it happen. And what we finally had to do was bring everything in-house and do it ourselves, build the process. And then what we did was, while we're still doing that with our main company, we then went ahead and exported it. Okay, now I still see there's some echo. Maybe it's on my side with my settings need echo cancellation. 1 little second here. All right, settings, audio. I have echo cancellation on.
Okay, I'm going to turn down a little bit. Let's see if that helps.
All right.
Now I can barely hear you.
Oh.
Sorry for the technical difficulties, everybody.
Thank you. Well, I don't want people to be distracted, but
No, of course not.
It's working. That's working. I'm not hearing feedback, so that's good.
Oh, good. Okay.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for your patience. So here's the bottom line. It is a specific approach. The biggest challenge you have in marketing a fundraise is that when you advertise, you get a mix of accredited and unaccredited investors. And typically the accredited investors are 3 or 4 to 1, more sometimes. And you've got to have an automatic switching yard in your funnel to take people. Okay, you're accredited, we go here. You're unaccredited, go here. So you'll have an offering and then there's offerings that you're targeting specifically accredited investors, but you'll still get unaccredited investors, and so you have to take them there. Then you have a crowdfunding offering where you need to pick the accredited investors out because sometimes they just don't identify themselves. So you have to have a good hybrid funnel which sends people to the correct place, and then it obviously follows up with each in the correct way and has the separate offerings for each. So all that has to happen. And here's the thing. The primary challenge is you've got to get rid of people, but not get rid. You want to get rid of it's like dating, but you keep, saying no to the right guy. Like, no, you want to say no to the wrong guy. So how do you do that? And so a lot of it is exclusion of the people who are not going to invest in the end. Now, here's the truth about early stage investing. It's mostly aspirational. People have to believe in what they're investing in. So the people who are very much just the numbers, ma'am, I just want to know what's going on here. They're better off going the S&P. I mean, there's certain investors who just don't, or they should invest in a real estate thing or something. If you have a startup that's aspirational and it has a huge upside, you need to appeal to the aspirational investor and know that's who you're going after. So that's rule number one is you've got to set it up so that the final number of people talking to the issuer, the person who's issuing the stock, is the right kind of investor. Okay, now I don't hear you at all.
You know why? Because I muted myself to help with the issue and then forgot because I got so excited about the question I was going to ask you. All right. It's great streaming. Yeah, so, but okay. That's really important that the right people are speaking to the issuer. Let's break down what you mean by that, because I see that as meaning multiple things, right? Does it mean that the wrong investors or the wrong people first get screened by what? A person, a lead magnet, a questionnaire? How are those the wrong people being weeded out?
Well, we've got something which is part of our proprietary platform, which is a video that's relatively long, and we have the tracker technology to know how far somebody has watched the video. If somebody somebody has not been motivated enough to watch the entire video, and they get, of course, help from callers, there's people who are on the phone to them, so they're not just left just to do their own thing. So they're basically encouraged, okay, have you watched? Or take some time, watch it. When they get to the end and they've watched 100% of it, and they're otherwise qualified, this is a hot prospect, right? So now you say, well, wait a minute, that's a long video, 30 minutes, people will listen. No, the right person will listen and watch.
Wow. Oh, wow. That's profound, because that's the first thing I thought. I mean, I feel like I know a thing about a thing or two, and it would never cross my mind that we got to get that 30-minute video out there. Like that would be in the world of TikToks and Reels, the last thing I would think is like, we got to get a 30-minute video out there.
Of course, you proceeded with a lot of short attention span stuff. You got to build to it. So you're building interest. If you just throw it out there, people will blow it off. But if they're in the funnel and you're doing things to keep them engaged and interested in new news and live streams and this and the other thing, and people calling them, and they get into the video, and it is a compelling video, and we have Ken Berenger, who's a master of the art. He really knows how to do a one-on-one video kind of thing. I don't know if you ever experienced it, but there's videos out there that push, for example, certain kinds of investments. And it is literally a guy sitting there for 30 minutes talking to you about gold. let's say, right? And if it's properly done, people will, it's called long form, and people will stick with it. But you have to be prepped. So there's a whole art to essentially getting the investor in a place where he's interested enough to listen to it. Once he gets to the end, then when he's booked with Ken or whoever represents the issuer, which is that very important legal point we can get to in a bit, then I just have 4 or 5 questions, and if you answer it right, I'm investing. So they're interested in investing. They just have a few questions, and that's easy. So they are very qualified at that point. Did you mute yourself again?
All right, listen, guys, I really am smarter than this live stream is making me look. I swear to God. Anyhow, like, I know what you're talking about with these 30 minute videos, because I have foolishly signed myself up for a bunch of, stock investing newsletters. And then what those stock investment newsletters do is they don't actually give you any stock investing advice. What they
No.
do is they give you a big, long text story of some sort and then say, but if you really want to know the full story, you got to watch this video. And then the video is what is like 30 minutes long. You're like, oh, I know you're just going to sell me something at the end. Which is, I never quite get through that stuff. But also, let me explain that those types of videos and that kind of marketing for the stock investing space is vast and wide and a very murky pool to play in, unlike what you and I are talking about, which is unique startup investment opportunities that are high risk. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't think there's one of these that isn't high risk, right? Maybe a nice cash flowing real estate deal isn't as high risk, but it's all high risk. It's not the S&P. It's not a blue chip.
No,
Not a mutual
it's high
fund.
risk, high reward, right? And there's this.
Yeah.
All of us have a bone in us, which wants a better return than 5%, or 8%. So, and that is, I'm gonna put some of my money into something that it's a gamble. Whether it's 10, 20, 30, 50,000, 100,000, whatever it is, that's some money I'm willing to put there on the off chance it's going to go 100x. Boom, and that's a big win. And if I lose it, I didn't expect much. That is what retail fundraising consists of, is going after that discretionary money that we're talking about, the accredited side.
Yeah.
On the crowdfunding side, it's stuff that people go, well, $1,000, sure, why not? Boom,
Sure.
And they're more mission oriented. Often they're not really looking for returns, but if they get them, that's good too. So we have different motivations. The key here is, how do you scale it? How do you turn it into raising $5-10 million? And that is frankly a challenge. Now, the good news is that people invest more than once. This is something we've learned again and again. If you can get somebody.
Wait. Let's talk about that. People invest more than once in the same deal, or they invest more than once in multiple deals?
Same company, different deals. So, for example, on Regulation D, this is primarily Regulation D, they come on board, they invest, and this is why we have a policy of not insisting on them doing the full unit, 100,000. We don't pressure people. This is my company anyway, and I think it's a good practice. What's comfortable? Oh, 20,000. Good. Do 20,000. Good. Go for it. Because they are now part of the group. And if you do really good, and this is super important, you've got to have a good investor relations team, pay attention to investors, pay your dividends, stay current, all that good stuff. Now you can go back to them and guess what? We just had a major new debt offering that you're going to love. Oh, debt offering? They already like you. They're invested. And now there's an opportunity to do more.
Okay. Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's just marketing 101, right? Like, your best customer is your current customer, your existing customer.
It's the truth. It's true in nonprofit development, where they know donators donate. The person who just donated $1,000 is going to donate $1,000 again soon. Same thing for investors. Investors invest. So yes, once you have that investor in, there's first of all, people want to make good on their investments, so they tend to stick with it. Number two, they believe, right?
Mhm. Oh, okay. So I want to get into the type of companies you're seeing out there, the type of cap rate structures, those things. But before we do that, I want to stick on this funnel for a second because to me this is absolutely fascinating. It kind of blows away what we see currently in the marketing space of, just these fast, quick reels, TikToks, YouTube shorts, and you're saying no. And maybe you're not saying no, maybe you're saying yes and this thing as well, or yes,
You're leading
but
to it, right? It's just like dating leads to engagement leads to marriage. So nobody wants
okay.
to get married right away. So they want to go out to dinner and then da. There's a process the same way with getting an investor, which is okay, flashy this, that, and the other thing, content threads, all that good stuff. I'm not saying anything's bad, but you've got to get them to a point where they'll actually start to like, okay, now this is really, honey, I like this thing about water. Yeah, water is really important. I agree. I think we're going to put some money into water. Okay, dear, because they've reached that point of excitement, right? You got to get
So
there.
well, I guess that's my question. Are you starting with what are we starting with? Are we starting with TikToks and Reels and YouTube Shorts? Are we starting with Facebook? Are we starting with LinkedIn? Where do we get that funnel started?
It starts with Facebook.
Okay.
Facebook ad why is Facebook ad so powerful? Is because they know their demos incredibly well. It's scary how much they know about us. However, we are seeing Facebook start to lose some of its glitter as really X mindshare is growing fantastically. And there's ways to acquire people through X, which we can get into, but X, Rumble, you name it. There's a bunch of platforms and you're advertising on them. And it's also very important that if you have a particular technology, they hear about it elsewhere than your ad, right? So, for example, let's say dogs able to sniff cancer, and that becomes something that they hear about through earned media and through X, etc. And now they see an ad about it, go, oh, that's the dogs, right? So it's very important that you do the paid advertising, but also the earned media is super important.
Okay. This is so great. So I know I keep saying that, but because I think it's really important for people to understand what earned media is. Are we going on podcasts? Are we just getting people to share our post? Like what kind of earned media are we looking at, or is it issuer dependent?
Okay. Well, there's a set of best practices, such as doing weekly scheduled live streams, such as doing getting on podcasts. I've done. I've been a podcast guest with a group called Command Your Brand. Wonderful people. I've done it for since the pandemic started, and for the last 5 years now. And I'm on a lot of podcasts, so that helps a lot. Number one, because not only do you get distribution, but you also get redistribution. You take your clips, you send them out, a lot of content you can reuse. And then, of course, you want to build your X. The new content thread phenom is amazing, and it's growing daily. There's all kinds of interesting opportunities. So yes, it's a whole cluster of best practices. And at Takeoff to Succeed, we focus on the fundraising, but we'll happily advise you on all these other things.
I would like to talk about X for a second, if you don't mind, because I found what you just said fascinating. Everybody, I'm going to say something that's going to sound terrible, and now you're going to look me up on X and go like, "Oh my god." I use X to be mean to people. X is a place where people are mean to people. And so, I I only see on X political stuff. Are you suggesting people are using X for things that are other than political?
Well, the algorithm, for example, I get a lot of skiing videos. The algorithm serves me, right? So,
Okay.
but the difference between Facebook and X is very simple. Organically, I'm only going to get so much reach. Whereas organically on X, you can get large reach, right? So Facebook is more about your immediate circle and a little bit beyond. And LinkedIn, of course, is also first and second, maybe third degree of connection, but after that, no. X, you can pierce through. I have a good friend. You can look him up on X, Craig Brocky. He has done an amazing job of getting up into the millions of views because he builds these highly compelling threads about one of the big topics everybody cares about, which is my personal health, right? And so it's riveting. Like, why is it that doctor in a pharma doesn't like vitamin C? Thread, bump, 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 bump. And it started with Rockefeller and this and that and the other thing. And now you're going down the conspiracy rabbit hole. And guess what? It introduces his book, his supplements, and this and that and the other thing. So it's really stealth advertising. That's, I think, the frontier of viewership building today.
I love that because I will tell you right now, there's a partner of mine. We actually discussed, and it's a partner in another business called Last Life Ever, which is more of a lifestyle brand. We mostly work and teach people how to live the best version of their lives, and the people we usually work with are entrepreneurs who are just want more purpose out of life. And my partner and I, we used to both be lawyers, so we know all about, how to work yourself into the grave and have a ton of
There
money
is a
and then be
12-step
sad about
program.
it. What's that?
There's a 12-step program.
Yeah. Actually, it's 5 steps.
Oh, I feel
It's
for you.
yes, it's very much like, you gotta have all these things in order to have a well-working machine of life. And we discussed, leaving YouTube altogether and just starting to do long form video content on X because of some of the things you said, which is that you have a better chance of going viral or getting picked up on X
Yes.
than you do on YouTube. And then it's funny. I'm just not, I deal a lot in real estate, so I should be a bigger fan, but I'm not a huge fan of Instagram. And then TikTok seems to change their algorithm constantly, and it might disappear at any minute in
Well,
time,
that too.
so who knows?
And you can't sign up anymore. It's not on the App Store. No, I think that X is in a very special place right now, because it's kind of the brush fire model, right? They're willing to start a brush fire, and it's very unapologetic about that. As to how accurate it is in reflecting people's opinions, again, it's the algorithm, right? They're trying. All they're trying to do is get attachment, getting people to scroll through. And there's days when I open X and I'm like, there is nothing here. All they're trying to do is capture me. And then one day there's like, oh my God, there's some real news. So it's still hit or miss, but it's a great attention trap. It really is.
Okay, all right. I'm gonna get my butt on X more often then. I'm just gonna I use it to yell at people in Congress right now.
That's
That's what
why
I
you only
do.
see political stuff.
I know. Well, I mean, literally, I'll like if a politician says something stupid or that I perceive to be stupid, I'll just go on there and be like, "Why are you so stupid?"
And so it'll serve more of the same. But if you were
Yeah.
to betray some other interest, like let's say you're a golfer and all of a sudden you start looking at golfing videos, you'll start seeing golfing videos. It's how it is.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm gonna do that either. I think I gotta go start looking at puppies and, you know, uh I don't know, hope core type stuff and change my algorithm. Um,
Yeah.
okay, so we got the top of the funnel. We're gonna create. We want to get some earned media, as you call it. We want to be out on X. We want to be on podcasts. Then, what we want to do is transform that into what? A newsletter, a mailing list? Are we capturing emails? What are we doing there?
Of course, in the funnel, you've got them on, excuse me, on a triggered, I apologize.
You're fine.
Sorry, I thought you were, oh my God. I'm in a live file.
Everybody, feel free to ask your questions below. We have Riggs Eckelberry, and he is from Takeoff to Succeed, which is a company that focuses on Regulation A and Regulation D offerings and marketing and building their marketing funnels. And if you know anything about trying to raise capital and build marketing funnels, it's all like a chicken and egg type of situation, because our chicken and egg situation is that we sometimes wonder, do we create the offering and then start marketing, or do we start marketing and then start creating the offering? And I would say that you should be doing both at the same time, developing both at the same time, because what's going to happen, you're going to find happens, is that your attorney's never going to just put together your offering super quickly. And if you have a complicated cap table, for example, you might find that in your complicated cap table that you're going to have to make some serious decisions about how you add your investors to that cap table. Or, you don't know what, one thing, especially when I was practicing law, people would come in, they knew they wanted to do something, they knew they wanted to raise capital. And I would often find folks would come in and say, hey, I want to raise money. And I would say, well, what are you going to offer? And they're like, well, we're going to offer a preferred return. And I'd say, okay, how much of a preferred return are you going to offer? And their answer was, well, what do you think? No, no, it's not what I think. It's definitely not what I think. It's what you can afford to pay and what you want to pay. So, and sometimes those are not the same thing. So there is no point of offering a preferred return of, say, 9 or 10% if the investment opportunities can only afford to pay 8. So you really got to work these things out, and all of this stuff has to be worked out. But if you know what the value proposition is, you can start on that marketing right away. So this is what I'm saying, when you can work on these things simultaneously, because none of them are going to come together overnight. Now, one thing I will tell you that I find to be a big error by a lot of folks out there in the capital raising world is that they go out there and they attempt to raise capital without having any of the systems and processes and operations in place. Now, what do I mean by this? A lot of people just think like, okay, well, somebody's is gonna give us some money and it's gonna go in a bank account, and then we're gonna spend that money to run the business according to how we said we're gonna spend the money. And that's all fine and good. The thing is, what investors need and investors want is they need to be told how they're going to be treated, and then you need to treat them the way you told them you're going to treat them. So what do I mean by this? For example, before I give you my example, let me tell you what I mean by this. What I mean by this is, like, if you tell your investors, we're going to report to you once a quarter, and then you fail to report to them once a quarter because you're so disorganized and you don't have the systems in place to do it properly, then you're going to have a problem. That's a problem, right? So you need to make sure that you say what you're going to do and you do what you say you're going to do. It's super important, particularly in the investor world. Riggs had made mention that if you have an investor who invests and they're already invested, then they're your best customer. And if you do a secondary round, they're the ones who are most likely going to reinvest, but not if you treat them poorly or if you don't do what you say you're going to do. The other issue is not saying what you're going to do and then doing nothing at all, which I also have encountered quite a bit with a lot of real estate, well, not just real estate entrepreneurs in general. I'm actually dealing with a company right now who I invested in like many, many years ago, and I have not heard from at all. I had this issue, actually. I say that about one particular company because I had one at the top of mind, but I actually have invested in many crowdfunding offerings, a ton of crowdfunding offerings, both on CrowdStreet, excuse me, not CrowdStreet, Start Engine and WeFunder. I've invested in a ton of different deals, usually smaller amounts of money, right? Like a couple $1,000s here and there. And let me tell you the amount of issuers who just simply do no reporting whatsoever. It is very disappointing. It really, quite frankly, um, I have not invested on WeFunder or on a platform like WeFunder or Start Engine in many years, despite continuing to get emails asking me if I would like to invest. And the reason is because simply like these companies cannot be trusted. These companies cannot be trusted. So I'm not interested, not interested. So that's really, some of those things you need to be thinking about is, are you putting the things together that need to be put together for your investors to be made comfortable going forward? Um, do you have a schedule? Do you have a format of how you're going to report to them? So do you have a schedule and do you have a format of how you're going to report to your investors? Those are really, really big things. So, all right, let's see. What else can we talk about? Let's talk about how when you're out there marketing for investors, do you understand who your investor is? Now, Riggs talked about getting an investor, getting the right investor in front of you by, building this funnel. But before you even build the funnel, do you know who your investor is? And what do I mean by that? Well, just like customers, just like companies have customers and they know their customer and they know their customer avatar, you have an investor avatar. And what I'm really interested in with your investor avatar isn't just the run of the mill demographics. Those are important. Don't get me wrong. You need to know the demographics of your potential investor, but also the psychographics of your investor, right? So what makes your investor fearful? What makes them happy? What makes them sad? What are their hopes and dreams and aspirations? What are those things that make your investor tick? What's going to move their needle? And I'm going to tell you, 9 times out of 10, it's not returns on investment. It's some other thing that you want to make sure that you are uh, uh, leaning into and understanding. So, is your avatar, somebody who needs cash flow right away? That you know, then your deal better provide cash flow right away. Or is your avatar somebody who's got a great job and doesn't need cash flow right now, is more looking for freedom? Like, for example, I'm invested in a fund right now that only invests in real estate opportunities in pretty places as short-term rentals. Now, they might be literal single units, and some of them are full-on hotels. But the deal with this particular fund is that you can go and stay at the hotels. So it's not just an opportunity to invest in real estate; it's also an opportunity for some level of freedom of being able to go and vacation. And so that's the pitch. That's the sales pitch. Do you want to own a piece of paradise, somewhere where you can spend your time when you finally get a vacation from that job of yours or from that business of yours? So these are all things we want to consider when we're going to set out to raise capital. Guys, if you have any questions, please feel free to put them in the comments below. I'm happy to answer those questions for you. Um, we are talking about Regulation A and Regulation D offerings. Uh, I have some comments here. Let's go through these real quick. Let's see what we have. Hi. Okay. Oh, yes. Okay. Can you explain the key differences between regulation and Reg D in a way that helps me decide which is the right path? Yes, absolutely. So Regulation A is a offering that allows you to raise up to $50 million in a 12-month period. And you can raise money from any investor that you want. And what do I mean by any investor that you want? Well, I mean it's pretty much any income level. The investors cannot invest more than 10% of their net worth, but again, it's any investor. And you do have to get permission from the SEC to do the offering. You do need to get an audit done. So there are some hoops to jump through. Legally speaking, it's a more expensive offering to conduct, but it does give you a potentially broader audience. On the other hand, there's Regulation D offerings, and a Regulation D offering can be split into two different things. Rule 506B is in boy, and Rule 506C is in Charlie. And B is in boy, you can't advertise for, and Riggs is not going to help you advertise for a 506B offering because you can't advertise for it. But 506C allows you to take money from accredited investors. And if you don't know what an accredited investor is, the rules have not changed as of yet, but it's $200,000 a year as a single person, $300,000 a year as a married couple, or $1 million in net worth exclusive of primary residence. So Riggs is back. So we'll come back to some of those questions. But I'm glad. Are you okay?
I'm okay. First of all, I had a coughing fit, which I don't know why. And on top of it, the Tesla repairman arrived for my wife's Tesla. And I'm like, what? I'm in the middle of a TV show. Sorry.
Wait. What had to be repaired on it?
What it was that it's a brand new Model X, and one of the rear light modules got water in it sometime this winter, and it didn't come out, so they just replaced the module. No big deal. Whatever. Anyway, I really am. You are amazing at keeping things going. I have to tell you, Jillian, that is amazing. Let me tell you something.
That's what they say about me. I can keep things going.
You're very good. One of the points about the $300,000 qualification is it's not just married; it's also any cohabitant. All right. So, if there was an SEC ruling a couple years ago that if it can be spouse or cohabitant makes it a $300,000 rule. But anyway, that is because there's.
I always forget that part. That's a great point. I'm going to tell you right now, that was like bestowing new knowledge on me because I completely forgot about that. So
I'm a good
that's
fake
great.
lawyer.
That's a great. Okay, so let's get it down to the brass tacks. Let's talk about like something. Let's give like a real world example. Can you share any kind of story?
Where you are right now? Let's say that you have a startup. Now, you raised money from friends and family, and there you are. Where do I go from here? And this is the classic gulf, the chasm, right? That you got to cross. Is where does my next money come from? Then you say, well, I'm going to bring in Takeoff to Succeed. Oh, great! Except that Takeoff to Succeed charges money. Why? Because we cannot be compensated based on success. We're not a broker dealer, right?
Yeah.
So we can only it's a straight fee and a percentage of the media buy. It's very safe for us, but it also means that it costs money. So now you're going to have to jumpstart. I'm working with a team right now that they want to use us, but they don't have, you'll spend, I don't know, $100,000 to get to where your advertising exceeds. You raise where you're raising more money than you're spending, right? You'll get to a break even point, 100,000, 200,000, depending on and we have all these models that we put together. So the first thing is that you're going to have to figure out how to get that chunk of money to pay for this fundraising, the advertising, the creative, and of course us. Well, that's where 506B comes in. In fact, you don't even need a 506B. You're going to go back to your original investors, and they're going to go, what now? And you say, well, I got a way that you're not going to have to be pulled in anymore. And you're going to help me raise a small amount of money to raise $5 or $10 million. And we're going to give you an exceptional deal, whatever it is, preferred shares, dividend. It has to be a really generous thing for these people who've already invested to do a little bit more to speed you on your way. And that is done typically with a direct investment. In other words, a simple subscription agreement, not a PPM. You can do that with 2 or 3 investors, typically, right? It's not a problem. You get enough people on board to do that. Now you're able to get people like Takeoffs to Succeed on board, plus the lawyer and this and that and the other thing to do things right. And now you're on the way for your next $5 million.
So,
Now,
okay, go ahead.
One last thing. You always need to think about doing both Reg A and Reg D, right? Never think of one or the other because you're leaving money on the table. If you do Reg D without Reg A, then you're going to miss out on a whole bunch of the smaller investors who not only provide money, but they also are a movement. They provide word of mouth. But if you only do crowdfunding, then you're missing out on the whales who will bring in a multiple of what comes in on the crowdfunding side.
When you say crowdfunding too, you're talking only Regulation A, not regulation crowdfunding. You're not suggesting doing regulation
crowdfunding because people don't understand what the Regulation A is, but typically we
Yeah.
don't believe in doing Reg CF. And the reason is that the market is quite restrictive. All the marketing materials have to be on the platform side. It's like an automated thing. It's good for testing, but frankly, we say, look, bite the bullet, just register it as A plus, and you have $75 million over a year that you can raise, and just bite the bullet and do it. And that works well.
That's interesting. Okay. So, so do you have any example companies that perhaps people could look up online of success companies that you think just hit it out of the park?
Well, there's some great companies who did Regulation A really well, and that is a real hat trick. I'm thinking of Boxable, for example. BOXABL.
Yeah, I'm very familiar with Boxable. Sure.
Now, the thing about Boxable, we don't realize is they think it's an overnight success. It took them years to start getting some traction. We would like people to do it faster than that. Also, Knightscope with a K, Knightscope, which is a security robot play. They raised over $100 million and got on the NASDAQ with Regulation A alone. Again, an astonishing hat trick. We do believe that you'll get there earlier by mixing the two. Look, the most neglected investor audience out there is people like you and me. We're not. Ashton Kutcher got into round B of Airbnb and made 20,000, 50,000%, whatever it was. Well, where were we? We weren't being asked, right? We don't have the opportunity to get in early on stuff. So we have a desire to get in on something like, hey, guess what? Yeah, okay. I got an in. Yeah. And that is something that we want to answer with our startup, which is a wonderful, your audience. There's a bunch of entrepreneurs in that audience, and they think that their latest AI agent, blah, 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 is great. Okay, great. The problem they have is that there's not many places they can go. But where they can go is into direct to the street investor, retail investors. Remember that all the broker-dealer networks that used to exist, we used to you'd be able to send out a secondary issuance to Pershing, and Pershing would market it to all their BDs. That's gone.
That's gone. Right?
So what do you have in its place? Nothing. So but it's also an opportunity to do social media with social proof to get people in. We're like, oh, they get excited about it. And you're tapping into the same aspirational desire that we all have to get ahead and not just put it in, TSLA. We want to do something that's early stage. And then we can lord it over people who didn't do it. Then we can go to cocktail parties and say, I invested in such and such early, and I really can't tell you how much I made, but I only go by private jet these days. That's what
Oh
we
my
all.
God. I would love that. I keep missing those opportunities, unfortunately. I will tell you though, I have invested in a bunch of crowdfunding platform deals that I thought I was going to get rich on, and a many of them unfortunately went belly up, or I never heard from them again. They might not have necessarily gone belly up. I just never heard from them again.
Okay, Jill, that's a really important point. People make a big mistake when they get an investor and then forget about them. Big mistake. Number one, you're
Yeah,
creating dissatisfaction, right? Number
yeah,
two, you're losing opportunities to get them to reinvest. And number three is just plain good manners, right?
right,
For example, my public
right.
company, Orton Clear, has been in business for a long time, and early investors got crammed, as they usually do, right? Well, I didn't like that. So in 2018, when Ken Berenger came along and started working with me, we did a whole, we made all those early investors whole. And they were just delighted. They had written stuff like, okay, forget it. And all of a sudden coming, hey, guess what? Da-da-da-da-da. Really? Yes. And the people who had been early believers became believers again. And then we made sure we stayed in touch with them. And we have great testimonials from them. And even though we're not yet $1 billion, we're not a unicorn yet, we're on the way. Our numbers are starting to really cook. They have patience because we take care of them. So please, please, please have good shareholder relations. Spend money on that. It will reward you in so many ways.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, just like forget about from a financial perspective or going back to those investors later to reinvest. It's from karma. Karma. These people trusted you enough and took a massive risk to give you money. I don't care if it was 500 bucks. They trusted you enough to give you money based on your promises and assurances, and you can't even get back to them. I mean, it's literally, I don't know if you heard what I was saying in the break, but I have not invested on a crowdfunding platform in many years now because I've been burned so many times. Now,
Yeah.
albeit I did make some money on some deals, and that is the risk you take. And it's not that I lost money, because there's one company I lost money in, and I was sad for the founder. I truly was, but because he communicated with us that he was going under and why he was going under.
Wow.
And I felt for him. But I have had companies on Start Engine and WeFunder just simply ghost me.
Yeah.
And then Start Engine and WeFunder just not care. Like
Yeah.
that, well, it's risky to invest in these deals. I get that. And no one gets that better than me. You
Yeah.
understand it's a risk reward principle. I'm going to lose money on some of these deals. Tell me, tell me.
Well, it is true. They're really they have their own goals. What the platform we like to work with, we like Manhattan Street Capital, Rod Turner. And the reason is that he doesn't pretend to bring you money, but what he does do is create a very, very responsive platform. And we have a really good partnership with him. So there's there's other platforms that, for example, we spoke to one company last week that was coming. They'd been with, this is their fourth platform. They're coming finally to Manhattan Street. The other ones did not serve them well. And really comes down to TLC. How much TLC, and here's one of the lessons I learned as a very old man, is that you could tell the attitude of management by the attitude of the people right there in front of you. The quality
Mm.
customer service directly reflects the attitudes of management. 100%.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if
That
you,
it's so key. It's so true. It's so true. I mean, listen, guys, if I can, I want Riggs to have the last word, but if I could just color this for you, before you go to somebody like Riggs, and I want you to go to somebody like Riggs, I don't want you to spend good money to get good legal documents and set up a good deal and have a great opportunity only for you to destroy it with bad marketing, right? So you need to go to somebody like Riggs, but don't waste Riggs's time if you don't have the foundational elements ready, because Riggs isn't interested in promoting disorganized people, people who haven't thought everything through, people who haven't put the systems and processes in place to take care of their investors. It goes without saying, fraudsters, he's just not interested in promoting that. And you're going to spend more money on Riggs to market something and then not take care of your investors or be properly organized or properly um, have proper training for your employees or have enough employees to take care of things. You got to think these things through. So there's a foundational elements you guys have to go through prior to going to somebody like Riggs.
And I must say that we have a relationship with you and other partners in this Ready Set Capital venture of yours, and that is a great way. If you go to Jillian to discuss your basics, and she interfaces very well with us, I think that's a great way to go. Talk to Jill and her team, and she'll go, okay, you're missing this, you got that, okay, and then she'll talk to us and get us involved on. We're happy to, again, I was talking to my friend Willis just moments ago, an hour ago, and he doesn't have the money yet. But said, listen, I'll be happy. He says, I got some people I can talk to. Well, what do I offer them? What's the offer? I say, okay, I'll be happy to guide you, no charge, to get you ready. Right? Because it's I for many years, whenever I had a consulting business, I acted like I already had the contract, like we're already in business, and the billing will come. And if you're an idiot, then you'll soon show me that you are, and then goodbye. But
We'll
if
figure it out.
if you're not, then it'll grow into something. So with Willis, he and I are putting together. I'm saying, okay, here's what you need to do. Here's who you need to go to get this, blah blah blah, and that'll get you the couple $100,000 you need from the 5 or 6 people you know. Let's go. And he says, great, okay. And so now he will come to us with the budget to do this, and we can help him. And I already know he's got a good business, but he definitely, actually, we should send him to you for some of the legal work and also for the organizational development.
Yeah, honestly, there's so many different ways you guys can get financing out there now. If if the if we know anything, if we've learned anything from the last several months, even if you hate Doge, what we've learned is there's a lot of free money out there. And I
Oh
say
boy.
that very sincerely. I'm not saying that tongue in cheek. There is a lot of money out there. You just need to know how to get it and how to position your company to get it. Like you sit down, think about it, make a plan. Just don't wake up one morning and go, I need to raise $5 million and then call it a day. These are all steps you need to take. You're welcome to reach out to me. Riggs, how can people get in touch with you?
Well, the most direct way, you can go onto the site, takeoff2succeed.com, and fill out a form, or you can email me, Riggs at RIGGS at takeoff2 succeed.com. Look forward to hearing from you, and we'll be happy to direct you. We don't think you're a time waster unless you prove to be one.
Yes, don't prove to be one. We'll put it in the comments below too, guys, so you can click right on it. It's Riggs at Takeoff to Succeed. Now, before we end today, guys, I know I've talked about this before. I bought a property, invested in a property in the Dominican Republic, and it is a beautiful, amazing property. And we're doing a grand opening on April 30th. And I can't believe this has happened, but virtually when we announced this event, we had so many people who said, "Oh my God, I'm totally going. I'm going. I'm going. I'm going." In the last several weeks, multiple people for very good reasons, like life-changing, I definitely cannot make it to the Dominican Republic reasons, have canceled on us. So we have a couple of rooms available at our Extraordinary Life event, and we are offering them, at a very at not the price that's on the screen. So if you are interested, if you go to extraordinarylife.com and you want to come, we just want to fill the event with people who are looking to really make 2025, despite the fact that we're already 1/3 through. If you're looking to make 2025 the best year ever, we want to help you do that. And so we're going to have a grand opening at the resort in the Dominican Republic at some of the best beaches you've ever seen in your life. And here, look, I'll even show you. You get to stay in one of these little huts. If you've always wanted to stay in one of those little huts
Oh my
that
God, I still want
overlooks
to
the
do this.
ocean.
Oh Lord,
Yeah,
I I'm gonna show this to my
yeah,
wife. He's gonna love it.
yeah.
Gonna love it.
Hey, listen, you guys are welcome to come. I'll send you the link. But seriously, come join us. Take advantage of my misfortune. And and we'll have a great time. It's at the end of this month, April 30th. We're gonna pick you up at the airport, and you don't have to worry about a thing the entire time you're there. Literally, we're gonna
Oh
take care
Lord,
of all your excursions. We're
that
gonna
is
take care of all your
good.
food, and we're gonna take care of all your transportation to and from the airport. So, and your stay, of course. So you get a little hut.
It's so cool. I
Awesome,
can't wait to hear
everybody.
more. Listen, Jill, I really want to thank you for the time you spent with me and also for being patient while I had to
Absolutely.
deal with the Tesla issue. And I really love that it's Riggs with an S at
Oh,
takeoff2succeed.com.
geez, I wrote it wrong. Everybody ignore that. Look, it's over there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Anyway, thank you. I have to talk to some bank right now. So
Nope, and we're
apologize.
all gonna go, "Bye, everyone. Have a great rest of your afternoon."